What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Never Lag. I'm Levi, joined by the man who fell in the pit, Zach, and today we're doing some quick reactions to the recent 25th anniversary of Final Fantasy VII. Let's just get right into it. Here's my question, Zach. Was this? No, you know what? I have a statement, not a question. They
Let's hear
finally,
it.
I cannot believe they finally announced the Final Fantasy VII Buster Sword alarm clock.
I know.
I can't.
We've been
I can't
waiting.
believe they.
We here at Neverlag have been waiting decades for this alarm clock. Ever since the original PlayStation 1 version of Final Fantasy VII came out, we've been thinking, I wish I had an alarm clock of this. And, our prayers went unanswered in the late 90s, into the 2000s,
And it was
2010s.
it was so unceremonious too. I can't believe they just
I
dropped it
know.
here. I didn't think it was going to happen. No, all jokes aside, that
It was
actually
like
did
the
look
second
pretty.
thing. Yeah.
I know that did look pretty cool. Honestly, I kind of
Oh, yeah,
wanted
it
it,
looks
but
good.
no. Here's my question. Was this the best anniversary of a video game we have ever gotten?
Um, I don't know that I actually have a ton of data points. I'm sure there have been some other anniversary events. I feel like I don't know if I've missed them or you know
How
they
dare you?
happened before we were doing Neverlag and we were a little bit more in tune with everything. But it's hard to compare it to something, so I don't want to be like this is the best we've ever seen. There's nothing like it
All right.
because there very well might be something, but
Let me answer the question for you. Yes,
all
it
right,
absolutely was. Anniversaries for games tend to suck. Like
yeah,
we as the community, as the fans, tend to build it up. We're like, oh, it's the 30th anniversary of Zelda or whatever, and at the end of the day, Nintendo hardly cares, right? And Nintendo, I'm
yeah.
throwing under the
Nintendo, I
bus,
could
but
tell you they're never good. They're never
yeah,
good.
but across the board, like anniversary, it's just so rare that, and part of it's timing, right? It's so rare that
Yeah,
big announcements or everything lands on a big anniversary, right? There's a lot of time, a lot of effort that goes into games. This was kind of the perfect storm. It was time for some of these announcements. But man, I was shocked. I didn't think we were going to get this much. I thought we were going to peak with the alarm clock. It just kept going.
yeah.
And yeah, let's get into it. So
I mean,
um,
yeah, my thoughts are like we got multiple different game announcements, several of which caught my attention and look interesting. We got the merch was cool as much as we joke about the cynically joke about the alarm clock. It was actually pretty neat. But then of course at the very end we got I think the big announcement and a bit of a reveal that we all were hoping for.
yeah, absolutely. So um, I mean, I don't know if I want to start there or not. The other big news of the day, the other big news that was kind of rumored before this show, we did get confirmation on, is this Crisis Core um, rumor that was floating around. And sure enough, we got the reveal of Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion, which is it looks to be a full blown remake. It's not graphically, it's not up to par with the like
I
the more
thought
mainline Final Fantasy VII remake. What?
I thought Ever Crisis was the full on. Uh,
I think it's Reunion.
is it
Yeah,
Reunion?
that one's coming out this winter. Ever
Okay.
Crisis, I think, was a different one. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, all you people who aren't even here yet. But no, yeah, this one looks. I was a little bummed because I never played Crisis Core. I know there's a passion for this game in the Final Fantasy community among those who played it. Apparently, the story is fantastic. Apparently, the ending is fantastic. I was looking forward to getting into this one. I was a little bit bummed to see that graphically it's not up to par with the more mainstream Final Fantasy VII remake. It's definitely a little bit of a lower tier visually, but it's still good enough that
Yeah, it
if it
looks
is
good
as good as
enough.
people say, if it's as good as people say, I think I might check this out. And then pretty surprised that this one is coming out this winter. So all in all, just a kind of a huge drop. And then we're not waiting years for this one to come out.
Right.
With it coming out this winter, do you have any feelings on Crisis Core, or do you have any context for what Crisis Core is?
Yeah, so I'm reminding myself when you said remake, I was thinking of like a redoing of the original Final Fantasy VII story, but no, Crisis Core is a remake of a previous game, and I believe uh, this focuses on Zack, the character who knew Cloud back in the day. He was connected to Aerith as well. Um, I think this looks really cool. I never experienced some of the like tangential games as much as I talk about how much I love Final Fantasy VII. I didn't play a lot of the other games surrounding it. So the fact that this is being remade, I agree, it doesn't quite look up to par with the remake or with the upcoming part 2 of the remake, but it looks pretty good. It looks good enough that it feels like a relatively modern game, and I think it'll absolutely be worth jumping in to play this. And I love Final Fantasy VII's world and setting. I love the characters. The combat system was amazing. So getting more of that is 100% something I'm on board for. And it's cool that we get it this winter because we also got the announcement for when the next part of the official remake is coming. But it's cool to see we're getting something kind of big and meaningful this year while we're waiting for the next installment of like the core trilogy of remake games. So I was kind of impressed that they're giving us things along kind of a nice release schedule. So going back to the
I
quality of this event, I think it just speaks to the fact that they really thought about
Yeah.
how they're going to reveal things over time for everyone.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, when you look back and you think, okay, we got Final Fantasy VII remake in 2020. In
Yeah.
2021, we got Intergrade, which wasn't a full thing, but it was a decent expansion
Mm-hmm.
to the remake. And now this year we're getting Crisis Core, and next year, hopefully it doesn't slip, but we're getting Final Fantasy Rebirth, which was also announced. So yeah, like that cadence is pretty solid. When they announced this was going to be several games, we were like, oh my goodness, this is going to take over a decade to get all these games. And it might come.
Yeah.
No, at this point, it's not going to take a decade, right?
No, it's
2020
going to.
to 26, maybe
Yeah.
27. So I think they're ahead of schedule in the eyes of a lot of people, which is
Yeah.
awesome to see. I don't think that Crisis Core is going to be the same combat as Final Fantasy VII Remake. I think it's going to be all real time from what I saw, as the original game was. But it is cool that, I mean, it's all about Zack, and we kind of got a glimpse of Zack at the end of Final Fantasy VII Remake. His story very much is tangential to the Final Fantasy VII story. So I do look forward to getting a little bit more context from that side. And I think Zack will even maybe be more of a factor in Rebirth. But who
That's what it
knows? Who
looks like.
knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, so getting into it, we did. We actually got the announcement for Final Fantasy VII Part 2, which is called Rebirth. And interesting to see them do that. We all kind of wondered, what are they going to do? Because Final Fantasy VII Remake, they're all being remade. Is it just going to be Remake Part 2, Part 3? Apparently, they're going to name them different things. We have Remake, Rebirth, and who knows what the third one is going to be. Oh, that's the other news of the day. They
Mm-hmm.
officially announced, we now know that this is going to be 3 games, which I think we all kind of hoped and assumed, but they left that ambiguous, and we were like, oh my goodness, this is going to take 5 games over the course of 15 years. We now know it's going to be 3 games. We have Rebirth coming next winter, and then a third title coming after that. So, what were your thoughts on the reveal of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth?
Um, yeah. First of all, I guess I didn't realize we hadn't officially gotten confirmation that it was a 3-part remake. I for some reason I thought that had already been confirmed. So I guess it's nice to confirm that. I think I would have been concerned if this had been a 5-part remake, both because we wouldn't be getting part 5 until I'm in an old person's home, and also because I worry that can you really stretch the game, like one game, that far, even though it's a big game and there's a lot of opportunity to add a little bit of depth. But 3 feels doable, I think, based on what they're doing. Granted, I know they're changing the story from the original a little bit, kind of doing an alternate universes type of approach. So I think there's some opportunity for divergence there, which will keep things fresh. But yeah, if you had asked me what do you hope from a 25th anniversary Final Fantasy VII event, the one thing I would have said besides alarm clock is more news on the second part of, and when, to show some footage from the second part of the remake, and then when a release date is coming. And cynically, I didn't think we were going to get that yet. I didn't think they'd have anything ready to show us. I felt like the second part was going to be coming out in 2024, which It still might,
It
but
still might. It
it
still
still
very
might.
well might. Yeah.
But it was cool to see that they're like trying to like they're anticipating what fans want and they're trying to deliver it as best they can. That's all you can ask for. So
Yeah.
the first of all, the date winter 2023, awesome. Like hopefully next year. There's obviously a chance that could slip into the first quarter or even the first half of 2024, but that means it's like I don't know. That's a little further on the horizon, but I can kind of see it. It's not horribly far away. But also the trailer they launched looks really neat. The quality of the visuals look fantastic. Which I think the first one looked really great too, but this one coming on to PS5 and like the consoles, that's what I really wanted to see, and I feel like it did. You see a scene of like Cloud and Sephiroth walking kind of through the wilderness, and there's beautiful grass and trees in the distance and jutting mountain peaks way off in the horizon, and it looks like how my kid brain imagined Final Fantasy VII, and they're translating that into like pretty dang good visuals. So it was neat. I felt the hype. What about you?
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. It looks fantastic. I think that was their goal, right? That this whole project started out of them viewing their own mortality and being like, "Hey, we want to bring Final Fantasy VII to the players the way that we all imagined it back in the day, but
Mm-hmm.
didn't have the technology to make happen." And so here we are. Here we are. We get part two. The trailer was very minimal. I'm still trying to kind of dissect it in my mind. It very clearly to me seems like they are, as we thought, spoilers for Final Fantasy VII Remake, they are continuing to branch off, right? We kind of started the branch at the end of Final Fantasy VII Remake. And from the dialogue we're getting here, it very much seems like the branch is going to further separate from what we know to be the original Final Fantasy VII, for better or worse. We still have to wait to find out. I know that's going to be somewhat divisive, but at the same time, it's exciting. And man, hearing Aerith's voice again as she starts the whole thing about the past is the past and the future is unwritten, and that gave me goosebumps a little bit. Really took me back to when I finished Final Fantasy VII Remake, and just I don't know. That was such an experience. For all the frustrations there might have been in that game, at the end of it all, it was an incredible experience, and I cannot wait to get back in that world. It was so good to see and hear some of these characters. Like you said, visually, it looks great. I don't know that it looks, from what we saw, it was hard to tell if it looks that much better than Remake, but Remake on PS5 looks fantastic as it was running at 60 frames. I'm happy with that. I do hope they're able to. I just did a quick Google because I didn't know for sure if this was coming to last gen. It looks to me like it's next gen only, which I would hope. I would hope in 2023 that's the case. But if that's the case, I really hope they're able to remove some of my biggest critiques of the remake were all of the masked loading screens, the constant shimmying through tight spaces, and having to replay that game on hard for the platinum. I both enjoyed it, and then it also became incredibly clear how tedious some of the sections of the game were due to things like that. I hope that we're able to get a more open game due to the power of next gen consoles and PC. I don't know if this will be. That's another thing we'll talk about in a minute for Xbox, but very much looking forward to it. I can't wait. And as I look at it, like you said, I kind of laid out their timeline from 2020 to 2023. Fantastic. And then you look at the end of their show, they have out now, which is the other announcement we didn't get to. Final Fantasy VII Intergrade is coming to PC. Well, it was already on Epic. I believe it's coming to Steam, I
Mm-hmm.
think. That was cool. A lot of people thought we were going to get an Xbox announcement. I think everyone thought we were going to get that. It's crazy that this is still not coming to Xbox. I don't know what Sony signed, what deal with the devil Sony did, but apparently no love for Xbox. I don't know, but it is coming. So you look at it, and it's out now. Intergrade for Steam, out this winter. Crisis Core, out next winter. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. So you love to see that out of a showcase, like especially from not a big publisher like Microsoft or Sony, but more of a specific honed in just Final Fantasy VII. It's crazy to see an out now, out this winter, out next winter. That's an
Totally.
awesome
Yeah.
cadence.
Yeah.
You just wish you could see more of that from these showcases. Again, lending towards my idea that this is literally the best anniversary we've ever gotten for a game. So
Yeah. No, I agree. The roadmap is incredible. It's all meaningful stuff. Pretty much all. There was a mobile game announcement, which, I didn't really
that
care
mobile,
about, but
just to talk to that for a moment, that is hilarious. I forget that that exists, and they showed gameplay of it, and it makes no sense. It's two things that don't mesh, and it's hilarious to me that this game exists. I don't know, maybe it's fun, maybe it's a good time. So they're still working on that. That was funny to see that announcement, and
yeah, totally.
I think that's about everything when you factor in Steam. Is there anything we're missing from the
Um,
do
so
a
the other
quick
thing on
scan
Steam
here?
is they're saying that Integrate will be Steam Deck compatible, or it is
Oh
Steam
yeah,
Deck compatible. So for
right.
those of you lucky folks who have one, there you go. Um, I could see myself playing this again on Steam Deck once I get one. I'm on a waiting list, so it probably won't be till later this year that I get one. Um, but yeah, so that was cool. And then one other thing, Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis was also announced, and this is something that is interesting to me because you talked about how divisive it is, the divergence from the original story that they have. They're kind of doing this alternate universe approach, and I'm excited about that. I think old school fans are divided. Some are very wary and worried that that's going to kind of like take away the impact of where the story goes. Some people are excited. I'm a little bit in both camps, but I think I'm excited because I already know what happens in the originals. I'm kind of curious to see what they do with this, and it leaves a lot more room for being surprised and not knowing what's going to happen. So I'm excited about that. But for those of you who want Final Fantasy VII as it is, like, as the story originally was, Ever Crisis is a version of this game, I believe, that sticks to the original PS1 story. Now, it's not exactly the same in terms of graphics of like remake. If you watch the in-world gameplay of these characters running around, they're kind of the blockier style like the PS1 game, but much better fidelity, or much better kind of, I don't know, resolution than PS1, but still kind of that blocky cartoonish style, which I don't know, some people will probably be fine with. Some may not love it. It's not my favorite, but it's more immersive than like the PS1, I think, blocky characters who looks like blobs. But then combat kind of reverts to the slightly newer graphics. So if you see actual combat, it looks more like remake, not quite on that level, but it's a lot closer to that. So this kind of could be a good way to get to play the old game with slightly punched up graphics, especially during combat, while still, having the remake being more of the new divergent storyline. So I thought that was a cool way to kind of honor the original story and have people be able to play that in a slightly polished state. So I might even check that out because I really loved playing through the original, and there's something charming about that as well.
Yeah. Disclaimer though, it is a mobile game, so there is that. But I do agree the art style is very appealing. It reminds me a lot of Final Fantasy 15 Pocket Edition, I think it was
Mm-hmm.
called, where it was kind of like these miniature characters with pretty decent graphical fidelity, which is kind of what we're getting here. Again, this game actually looks pretty good. It's crazy what we're able to get on phones these days.
Yeah.
Not that I'll ever admit that live on air, but
Yeah, I'll cut that
so
out.
yeah, yeah, please cut that out. So yeah, that looks good too. And yeah, just overall a great showcase. Can't wait to get my alarm clock. Um,
Yeah.
and like you said, the other thing is I am excited that they're changing the story. I know it's divisive, but if you think about it, if we were going to get these three games over the course of 7 or 8 years, and they were going to be note for note what we got in Final Fantasy VII, um, I don't know, that would be fun. It would be cool, but it would take a certain amount of excitement out of anticipation for these titles. The fact that there's some unknown um, really just makes it feel brand new in a way that it couldn't have been otherwise. So I'm here for it. I love it. This was a fantastic anniversary. I give it 11 out of 10, and it does leave me wondering. Um, part of me thought that Rebirth was not going to be here because I still believe Sony's going to have a showcase. I would have thought Sony would have secured the rights, it being an exclusive. I guess I don't know if that's confirmed that the the sequels will be exclusives. But it does leave
Yeah,
me
I don't know.
wondering. I'm my faith is shaken. I don't know if Sony has anything coming our way soon. I mean, other than God of War, I feel confident we'll get God of War news for Ragnarok soon. But I thought we were going to get a blowout of all their first party and exclusive things, and this being here really makes me wonder about that whole situation. But that's kind
Yeah.
of
I mean,
that's kind of the
there
side.
could be some crossover. I think there were some things we saw in Summer Games Fest that were also in Xbox's showcase, but it
Yeah,
does take away a little bit of the punch if we're getting Final Fantasy VII Rebirth stuff here and then not in Sony or also in Sony's event. But it's
yeah. Well,
we've
I
already
mean,
seen
and
it a
we
little
didn't
bit.
get to see a ton here. The announcement was impactful, but we didn't get to see a lot. So maybe there will be more to show off if Sony were to do a thing, like you said.
Right.
I don't know. We'll wait to see. But this was great. Do you have any other thoughts before we close out our reaction to the anniversary?
No, go get your alarm clocks, everyone.
Go, go get your. Well, no, because then I won't be able to get them. Nobody
don't
ordered them
don't.
so that
Yeah,
so
those
that
are
I
a
can
waste of
get
money.
mine.
Don't go get them.
Absolutely. Okay. Happy anniversary to Final Fantasy VII. And yeah, thanks for joining us here for our reaction. Stay tuned for more content like this, more content not like this, whatever the heck we might be doing in the future here at Neverlag. And we'll see you next time.